In the middle of World War II, soldiers faced a problem that had nothing to do with bullets or bombs. It was hunger, and the danger of being seen. Because in war, even a thin line of smoke could give you away. Yet somehow, they found a way to cook without a fire. No light, no smoke, no sound, just heat, trapped in silence. This is the story of the fireless cooker, the forgotten invention that fed armies, saved lives, and still outsmarts modern technology. For troops on the move, cooking was risky business. A single campfire could be seen from miles away, a glowing beacon for enemy planes or scouts. Smoke during the day, light at night. Both could betray a hidden position, and yet soldiers needed more than cold rations. Hot food wasn't just about comfort. It kept morale, energy, and discipline alive. So, in the most dangerous conditions imaginable, armies needed a way to cook invisibly. The solution didn't come from a laboratory. It came from a kitchen, decades earlier. In the early 1900s, before electric stoves or microwaves, people used something called a fireless cooker, or haybox. It was simple. Boil a pot of food for a few minutes. Then place it inside a box filled with hay, sawdust, or wool. The trapped heat continued cooking the meal slowly, using no more fuel. Families loved it because it saved time and wood. But during wartime, this domestic convenience would become a tool of stealth and survival. When the Second World War erupted, the world's supply lines were stretched thin. Fuel was scarce, fires were dangerous, and feeding an army required innovation, not luxury. That's when engineers and field cooks revisited the old haybox idea. They built versions lined with straw, felt, wool, or sawdust. The principle was identical. Heat once, cook for hours. The Germans called it the Heißhaltetopf, or heat-holding pot. British units used insulated crates. American convoy kitchens built portable boxes that could cook meals while trucks rolled across muddy front lines. It was one of the simplest, most effective technologies of the war. At its core, the fireless cooker was a lesson in physics, specifically thermal inertia. When you heat food to boiling, every molecule inside carries stored energy. If you can keep that energy from escaping, the food will keep cooking, even off the fire. Insulation acts like armor, blocking heat loss through convection and radiation. So, when soldiers sealed their boiling stew inside a hay-lined box, the temperature inside stayed high for hours. The meal continued to simmer silently. No smoke, no light, no smell. It wasn't magic. It was pure heat efficiency. And in war, efficiency meant survival. Not every meal worked well with this method, but some were perfect. Stews, beans, porridge, rice, potatoes, anything that thrived on long, slow heat came out rich and tender. Field cooks learned through trial and error. A stew boiled for 10 minutes, sealed, and left for 4 hours came out just as hot, and far more flavorful than food cooked over an open flame. It saved fuel, time, and most importantly, it kept men alive in silence. Imagine a unit on the move. Before dawn, the cooks heat pots of stew just long enough to boil. Then they pack them into insulated boxes, sometimes wooden crates, sometimes metal chests stuffed with blankets. The convoy rolls out. Hours later, when the soldiers halt to rest, the food is still hot, still steaming, still ready to serve. No fires to light. No smoke to reveal their trail. No extra fuel wasted. For resistance fighters in occupied forests and mountains, this wasn't just clever. It was essential. Cooking in silence could mean the difference between staying hidden and being found. The fireless cooker wasn't limited to front lines. In military hospitals and refugee camps, it was used to sterilize medical tools and keep food hot for wounded soldiers. Villagers across Europe adopted it during ration shortages. They built hayboxes out of whatever they had: barrels, crates, even hollowed chests, lined with straw or wool. In some rural areas, these improvised cookers became community kitchens, feeding dozens using almost no fuel. What began as a household trick had become a wartime lifeline. You can build one today using the exact same principle. Start with a sturdy box, a wooden chest, a metal container, or even a cooler. Line the inside with thick insulation: straw, wool, shredded paper, or foam. The goal is to trap heat and block airflow. Next, heat your food until it reaches a full rolling boil, at least 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Then, immediately, place the sealed pot into the insulated box. Pack the insulation tightly around it and close the lid. After 3 to 4 hours, you'll open it to find your food perfectly cooked and still piping hot. It's silent, smoke-free, and can cut fuel use by up to 70%. Numbers modern survivalists and preppers still swear by. The fireless cooker never really disappeared. Today, it lives on in thermal cookers and eco-pots used across Asia and Europe. They work on the same principle: heat once, retain energy. For preppers and off-grid builders, it's one of the smartest low-tech tools to own. In a blackout, you can cook without power. In the wilderness, you can prepare meals without smoke. And in crisis zones, it offers hot food without draining limited fuel. It's not just nostalgia, it's survival science. When people think of wartime innovation, they imagine tanks, radar, or rockets. But sometimes, the most powerful inventions are the quiet ones. The fireless cooker reminds us that ingenuity isn't about complexity. It's about need. When lives depended on silence, soldiers turned an old household trick into a weapon of survival. They didn't reinvent the world. They just learned to use heat more wisely. From the trenches of Europe to the forests of Finland, the fireless cooker fed soldiers without fire, without smoke, without waste. And today, it still stands as proof that the simplest ideas can endure the longest. Because survival isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's clever. And sometimes it's just a box full of heat. If you enjoy stories of forgotten ingenuity, the inventions that turned survival into science, subscribe to Forgotten Survival. Because in history, even the quietest ideas can echo forever.